We feel like we're not enough, and we're trying to overcompensate with speed, with being able to listen to a podcast in the morning and then transform our confidence that same afternoon. And it is a profound act of self-compassion to slow down and say to yourself, this is allowed to take time. There's not some bad, broken part of you that you have to quickly fix. Yes, you want to evolve and become stronger, but there's no rush to getting there because the starting point that you're at is not inherently bad. Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the podcast. I'm very excited to record today's episode because it's the end of 2025 and I'm starting to record for 2026. And today, we're talking about something that I love to teach on and coach on, and that is the topic of confidence. Today's episode is going to be a deep dive, and I'm going to be offering you underrated ways to grow your confidence. And all of the underrated ways that I'm going to be covering all connect back to the theme of self-compassion. Self-compassion means that you treat yourself with kindness and understanding and support. And I want to be totally honest with you and share the thoughts I used to have about self-compassion when I was earlier on in my journey of building confidence. I thought that it sounded fluffy and it sounded like a waste of time. And this is a perspective that I think is pretty common with people who are high achievers. We think to ourselves, I'm not here for self-compassion. I want to feel confident. I want to speak up. I want to perform well in my career. So why are we talking about self-compassion? And the reason we're talking about it is because it's one of the most powerful traits that you can develop to grow your confidence. When you have a strong sense of self-compassion, you feel better emotionally. And when you feel better emotionally, you perform better. You can speak up in stressful situations and stretch yourself to do hard things. So self-compassion is a direct catalyst for building your confidence and finding your voice. And it's one of the most powerful catalysts that there is. That is why in today's episode, I want to teach you 3 psychological pivots that will help you grow your confidence by being far more compassionate, understanding, and supportive towards yourself. The 3 pivots that I'm going to cover today are: number 1, I want you to pivot from prohibiting mistakes to allowing yourself to make mistakes. Number 2, from having unattainable standards to having attainable goals and standards. And number 3, from demanding that you grow and progress quickly to giving yourself enough time. So for each of these, I'm going to unpack what they are, and I'm going to help you apply it to your growth and your career and your life. And we are going to start with the first pivot, which is pivoting from prohibiting mistakes to allowing mistakes. So let me start by sharing some signs that you prohibit yourself from making mistakes. If you try to always get it perfect when you speak, if you are often rehearsing what you're going to say in your head or over preparing for a meeting, if you ruminate every time you make a mistake or even a small error, and if your mind feels like a pressure cooker anytime you are in a challenging meeting or situation, these are all signs that you are not allowing yourself to make mistakes. These are all stressors and precautionary measures that your mind is adopting to try to keep you from making mistakes. Now, for those of us who are type A, which I identify with completely, this is a very loaded topic. And what I'm about to share is loaded, but I also strongly believe that it's true. What I believe is that when we prohibit mistakes and we tell ourselves, I cannot make a mistake, we actually perform worse and we end up making more mistakes. So in a work environment, this would look like speaking up less, or when you do speak up, speaking up less effectively and not bringing your best voice and your best leadership into that situation. Now, there are two reasons why prohibiting mistakes causes us to make more mistakes. Number one, it creates pressure and internal distress. And those are both things that negatively impact our performance. So for example, if you're thinking to yourself, I have to say this perfectly, I can't make a mistake, that pressure is going to make you more likely to say the thing in an incorrect way. The second reason that prohibiting mistakes causes us to make more mistakes, and this is the bigger and more important one for today's episode, is that prohibiting yourself from making mistakes is a form of putting yourself down. It's a form of devaluing yourself. It's a form of treating yourself as if you're broken. Here's why. When you're avoiding mistakes, often the thought process that you're having deep down inside is, I'm only good if I make no mistakes. And if I do make a mistake, then I am no longer good enough. So fundamentally, this avoidance of mistakes is coming from the belief that something is wrong with you, and therefore you have to make sure not to make mistakes, to hide what is wrong with you. And the pursuit of being mistake-free actually makes you feel even more like something is wrong with you because you're reinforcing it and you're saying to yourself, yeah, something is wrong with me, so I better not get this thing wrong and show everyone that there is something wrong with me. Now, one of the most powerful things that you can do to grow your confidence is to shift towards a more compassionate way of treating yourself and pivot from prohibiting mistakes to allowing yourself to make mistakes. Now, if you are type A like me, you might be having like a pained reaction to this. You might be hearing this and thinking, no, there's no possible way I can. But I want to help you understand why it is so valuable for your growth and why it has the power to change your life and change your career permanently. So to help me do that, I want to share some examples of thoughts that you would have if you were to allow yourself to make mistakes. And as you hear me share these thoughts, I want you to pay attention to how they make you feel. So here they are. I don't need to get this perfect. There is room for me to make mistakes. I allow myself to make mistakes. I never need to get it perfect. Confident leaders make mistakes, and I can make mistakes too. I forgive myself for sometimes making mistakes. My question to you is, how do you feel when you hear those statements? For me, I feel the pressure start to dissipate. I feel less tense. I feel less anxious. And when that tension and anxiety starts to loosen, that is when you are able to bring your best performance. This is why it is so important to allow yourself to make mistakes and to bring it back to this deeper theme of feeling like you're broken and feeling like you can't make any mistakes because you have to hide the fact that you're broken. When you allow yourself to make mistakes, you start to unwind that thought. And instead of you thinking, I'm broken, so I better not make mistakes, I don't want anyone to see that I'm broken, instead of that, you start thinking, I'm not broken, therefore I don't need to quote unquote prove myself by avoiding mistakes. I am good and worthy and capable whether I make mistakes or whether I get it quote unquote perfect. And this is what makes you feel strong. It's the belief that you are capable and worthy regardless of how perfectly you execute. This is a paradigm shift. You're shifting away from trying to chase worthiness by getting it perfectly to now learning that your feelings of worthiness will grow by allowing yourself to get it imperfectly. And oh my gosh, to me, this feels so much better. And I share this with you as someone who had to do a ton of inner work to allow myself to make mistakes. My grip on perfectionism used to be so tight. And still to this day, I have to keep reminding myself every day to loosen that grip. I really believed, and my brain loves to go back to the belief that getting it right on every single box that I can possibly check is the way that I'm going to feel good in the world. And I have lived through the transformation that happens when you have the courage to let go of that belief and ask yourself, what if I cut myself a little bit of slack in just the same way everyone else around me does? So in summary, even though it might feel scary for you to let go of this desire to get it perfect, I have seen now, I've coached over 200 women in my coaching practice. I have seen that it is one of the fastest, most effective ways to grow your confidence, feel more stable inside, and really feel free to express your voice powerfully and confidently in the workplace. Okay, that was the first of 3 pivots. So the second pivot that I want to cover is pivoting from setting unattainable standards to setting standards that are small and attainable. So for me to explain this, the first thing that I need to cover is the idea that even if you have a big goal, right, like a big dream of the big confidence you want to develop and the big, powerful voice that you want to have in the workplace, that big goal is different from the day-to-day smaller steps that you take to achieve that goal. So when I say you need to pivot from unattainable standards to attainable standards, I'm not saying that you should shrink your goal or that you shouldn't dream big. What I'm saying is you should dream big, but in the day-to-day pursuit of that big goal, the standards that you set and the small steps that you take have to be attainable. And something that I used to get stuck in, and something that I see a lot of people get stuck in, is we expect ourselves to make these massive leaps in how we are able to show up. So you might expect yourself to go from feeling scared to even speak up in a particular meeting to now being able to speak as the most crisp and polished and eloquent person in the room. And when you expect that big leap of yourself, it causes you to feel pressure. It causes you to experience imagined failure because you don't make this huge leap and your mind clocks it as failure, even though you probably are making progress, right? It's just hard to see that you're making progress because you set the bar so high. And then this can make you feel discouraged and it can make you feel like you're not growing when you are growing. This is one of the most fascinating things that I see when I'm doing my coaching work is that when someone sets the bar really high, they might come to me and say, I'm not growing, I'm regressing. And when we look at the facts, they are growing. It's just that their standard for how big a leap they should take was so high that they weren't able to clock the actual growth that they were demonstrating because they didn't hit that high standard. So it's important to lower the bar on the outcomes that you are expecting from yourself day to day. So if you're in a meeting and it feels really scary for you to speak, maybe your first goal could be to participate in the chat box if that's something that people at your company do. Or maybe your first goal could be to just validate someone's suggestion and just say, that's a great idea. That would be progress. And when you set those attainable goals, you experience that as progress and you feel pride around that, which helps you continue to take small steps. And the small steps add up, and then you end up experiencing really big growth over a longer period of time. Now, I want to talk about the deeper psychology underneath this phenomenon of setting unattainable standards. So a lot of times when you go into a situation thinking that you need to make a huge leap in progress and a huge leap in how you show up, that experience is being driven by the thought that something is wrong with you and you are not enough. You are not capable enough. You are not good enough. You are not worthy enough. The thought process is, I'm not enough right now, so I need to make a huge leap, a huge jump, a huge step of progress in order to get to that point of enoughness and in order for my progress to be worthy of celebrating. It's a way of overcompensating for a sense of being broken that we imagine is a part of who we are. This is why allowing yourself to set small, attainable daily goals is such a beautiful act of self-compassion, because what you're saying is, nothing is wrong with me. I don't need to take this massive leap to escape the quote-unquote broken version of me that I am. I am good enough as I am, and therefore small steps are acceptable to me. I don't need to drastically jump higher just so I can prove myself. I deserve to go at a pace that is sustainable for me. I deserve not to feel overwhelmed. I deserve to celebrate every single step of progress that I make, even if it's a small step. These are the beliefs that get formed as you allow yourself to lower your expectations and your standards. And these beliefs are a profound act of self-compassion because they all point to the fact that you are valuable and you don't need to make huge jumps in order to change yourself or prove yourself. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and then I'm going to cover the third and final pivot. If you want to build genuine confidence and speak up more effectively at work, then you are going to love my free training. It's called 3 Steps to an Unstoppable Meeting Presence. And in this training, I walk you through the same 3 steps that I use with my clients to help them build deep confidence and develop a voice that gets them noticed and promoted in the workplace. This training is going to help you see that you are totally capable of speaking up powerfully, even if you're an introvert and even if you feel like a total beginner. To grab this free training, click the link in the show notes or go to jessguzikcoaching.com/unstoppable. All right, now back to the episode. Okay, we're back from the break. And the third pivot that I want to cover is pivoting from demanding that you grow quickly to giving yourself time. So when you tell yourself that your growth should happen really quickly, this causes you to feel pressure. It causes you to feel frustrated if you're not able to move that quickly. It causes you to get into comparison spirals, comparing yourself to other people, because that highlights to you that you aren't moving quickly enough. And it causes you to feel discouraged, which ultimately slows down your growth. And I believe that when we are rushing to transform into the version of us who we want to be, what is underlying that is often a thought that sounds like, well, I'm not good enough. Something's wrong with me. I'm broken. So I need to hurry up and stop being this broken version of me and become the quote unquote better version of me. So it's very parallel to what I was talking about with the unattainable standards. We feel like we're not enough and we're trying to overcompensate with speed, with going quickly, with being able to listen to a podcast in the morning and then transform our confidence that same afternoon. And it is a profound act of self-compassion to slow down and say to yourself, this is allowed to take time. I don't have to rush. I am allowed to go slowly. Or one of my favorites is it's the turtle versus the hare, and the turtle always wins. I love reminding myself of that. It always puts me in such a good mood. And when you allow yourself to slow down, number one, you're being realistic with what actual psychological growth looks like. Our psyche and our self-confidence, it forms over a very long period of time, over many years. So for us to expect that we should really quickly be able to change that is unrealistic. It's impossible. We need to give ourselves time to really go through the transformation process. And even more importantly, when you allow yourself to go slow, you're strengthening this really empowering, deeper belief that nothing is wrong with you. If there's nothing wrong with you, then there's no rush. There's not some bad, broken part of you that you have to quickly fix. Yes, you want to evolve and become stronger, but there's no rush to getting there because the starting point that you're at is not inherently bad. And one thing that I'll share with you on rushing versus giving yourself time is I see over and over when we get really fixated on this shouldn't take so long, this shouldn't be so hard, it literally ends up taking longer because you rush, which doesn't allow you to slow down and do the inner psychological work to grow. And also, I see this a lot with my clients who join my group program. They think to themselves, this program is 6 months long. That's a long time. I should be able to do this faster. Like, I need to get this going. And what happens is they try that and they spend a year or 2 years trying that. And then they realize, oh my gosh, a year has passed. 2 years has passed. That's 24 months. What if I just tell myself that it's okay to slow down and it is going to take time and it's okay if it takes 6 months? I am endlessly fascinated by the way in which our desire to rush through things often creates the very thing that we are most afraid of, which is that it ends up taking longer. Now, let me quickly recap the 3 pivots that I covered, and then I want to point out something important. So the pivots are pivoting from prohibiting yourself from making mistakes to allowing yourself to make mistakes, and from unattainable standards to realistic, attainable standards, and then finally, from demanding that you grow quickly to giving yourself ample amounts of time. Now, something that all 3 of these have in common is that the pre-pivot state is usually coming from a belief that you are not good enough. So the thought process is, I'm not good enough. Therefore, I better not make any mistakes. I'm not good enough. Therefore, I must make a huge step forward so I can prove myself. I'm not good enough. Therefore, I must hurry to transform so I can finally start being good enough. Whereas when you believe that you are good enough, it all changes. And then you start to think, I am good enough. Therefore, it's okay if I make mistakes. I am good enough. Therefore, it's okay if I take small steps and achieve small day-to-day wins. I am good enough. Therefore, it's okay for me to go slow and take the time that I need. In all of these examples, there's no longer a panicked sense of urgency to quote unquote fix something really, really quickly, but rather a calmer, healthier desire for natural growth and change. And that is one of the most powerful psychological states that you can be in when it comes to building confidence and finding your voice and all of these are beautiful forms of self-compassion. I used to really struggle with self-compassion because the only examples of it that I would see out in the world are people taking bubble baths and people buying crystals. And listen, I'm not hating on bubble baths or crystals, but I think it can be really hard to understand what self-compassion looks like at a psychological level. This is what it looks like. It looks like being generous with yourself, generous enough to allow yourself to make mistakes, to allow yourself to take small steps, and to allow yourself to take your time. These are the things that are going to help you get out of this pattern of trying to rush to change and hitting that same frustrating wall over and over to finally experiencing the real growth that you are craving. Now, if you're hearing this episode and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is a pattern that I need to change. I need to learn how to stop seeing myself as broken and stop setting these unrealistic standards and rushing myself to be perfect at everything. If you're thinking that that's a change you want, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's going to be so hard for me. I've been this way my entire life. How am I supposed to change this? This is the work that I do. And this is the work that I guide you through inside of my program, the Art of Speaking Up Academy. This is my signature program where I help you build real self-confidence and I help you communicate in a way that is crisp and powerful so that you can build a strong reputation as a leader. And one of the best things about this program is I go deeper than just teaching you tactical communication skills. I help you with the real psychological change work of growing your confidence, because once your confidence is strong, your voice becomes strong naturally. And self-compassion is at the center of how I support you in experiencing that psychological change. You've probably spent most of your life pushing yourself and putting pressure on yourself and being hard on yourself. And I know that that can work. It can help you accomplish things. It can help you work a lot of hours and get a lot done. But when it comes to something deeply emotional and deeply vulnerable, like finding your voice and speaking up at work, you actually have to let go of pushing yourself. And instead, you have to learn to have a kinder, more empowering, more compassionate relationship with yourself. If you are ready for real deep transformation in your self-confidence, I want to invite you to add yourself to the waitlist for the Art of Speaking Up Academy. You can do that by clicking the link in the show notes or going to jessguzikcoaching.com/academy. Once you join the waitlist, you will be first to find out when the next cohort is opening, and you will get a private waitlist-only invitation to not just secure your spot in the cohort early, but to get exclusive early enrollment bonuses that are only available to the waitlist. The bonuses rotate. Sometimes you get a bonus workshop. Sometimes you get a bonus private session with me. Once you join the waitlist, you will find out what the current bonus is. I will drop the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode, and I will catch you next week. Bye.